Good morning, y'all. This is Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. As you can hear, I'm sounding a little bit better today. Been drinking my tea and taking my zinc and um, also doing my knitting rinse, so my sinuses have mostly cleared out. But I wanted to show you really quickly that the gardens are definitely progressing. So it is now January the 21st, and it is the morning. I moved this black seeded Simpson lettuce that was in the kitchen AeroGarden into this one because the lettuce that was here that I transplanted has gotten really tall, and I was kind of concerned about this one being crowded out. So I told myself, let me just switch this one to give this one more room to grow, since that one was taller and was able to kind of better compete with the space in that garden or with the other salads that were taller in that garden. And one, so this one had more room to grow, and because it was also a similar height as these, so that they didn't need to be adjusted, because I was kind of afraid that this one was getting shadowed out and wouldn't get enough light to really support the seed germination. But the polka dot mix and the coleus that are in this garden are all doing well, and you can't really see it as much here, so I'm going to have to lift this up really briefly. Oh, that's in there. But maybe it's not this petunia. I thought all of these, well, it's way down in there. Let's see if I can get you an angle where you can see it. Hold on, I almost got it brightened enough. I saw it for a second. You can see that there's a leaf way down in there, and it's sprouted. Let's see. I think you can kind of see that here. Yeah, you see that little leaf? It's sprouted. Gotta be able to laugh at yourself, and I do that a lot. This one should be much easier to see. Yeah, several little sprouts in that. So as I said, the petunias can be slow to germinate, way past the 6 to 12 day window that they give there, but when they do germinate, it's definitely worth the timeline. And once they start blooming, there is reward in just having patience and waiting for that process to take place. So I'm still leaving these lids on all of these pods, just to again help them with the process, and also to try to prevent algae, since the leaves aren't up and covering those soil pods in there. So I'll show you the other gardens. We've had a lot go on in this my seed germination tray. And I'll tell you what I often do once stuff starts growing or not growing is dropping in other seeds. So even here, where this originally was a mustard seed, I dropped in some of my chive seeds, because I wanted to get some chives and some green onions going for the herb garden for me to transition or transplant into that garden. So here we have a lot of my different tomato plants growing. And the other thing that I like about this seed starter tray is you'll see sometimes folks do with AeroGardens is maybe drop one or two seeds, and then say that if you start very early, you can just slide a plant out and move it into another pot or move it into a crack key. So what I did is that I had some of my Cherokee purples that were growing and some of my golden delicious that were doing really well, and I actually popped them up and moved them into these back pods. Let's see if I can move this one so you can see. Yeah, these back pods here, this little one here and that one, because these super sweet 100s did not germinate for me. They were some older seeds, and I just said, well, this one, as you can see, was my stronger one, but these other ones were much smaller, and I said, well, I can still save them, pop them out, put them in another one, and also make use of these pods that were otherwise not doing anything, and two, get those out while they're still early enough and just had their taproot going so that I could make use of those pods still. So I also in some of these areas dropped in some, what is it, Swiss rainbow Swiss chard seeds. I think I dropped in some more chives in these spaces where I was trying to grow some California wonder peppers, and this one Chinese giant, I think that is still a pepper seed that's trying to grow up. The other one I dropped in some more chives. Back here we have the Space Master cucumber that I am going to transfer into one of my taller AeroGardens. This pea did not come up, so I think I tried to drop in a a Swiss chard in that one too, but we'll see. But we got some mustard greens that are growing. I think I dropped in a Swiss chard in that one too when it wasn't coming up. But a lot of nice progress going in this garden. And this one, you see, it's a little more mature. Roots are going out. So before things get too established in this garden, I am going to have to do some transplanting and moving around. So that'll come in the upcoming weeks. And this little harvest. So I am going to have to do some moving around in this garden. And I wanted to show you too. Now I told y'all I was putting these sweet potatoes on water. Look at all the roots that this one has put down. And I think I filled up this glass with water like the other day. It's already gone down. I got some nice slips that are coming out. So I'm going to be breaking these off and transferring them to soil. But just wanted to show y'all that quick update with my little sweet potato incubation that I'm doing in here. This whole side of the garden here were these black-seeded Simpson salads that I started growing, or lettuces that I started growing. So they're here, and they kind of were slow growing at first, and I just kept an eye on them, kind of wondered, how they were going to do, and then they just started booming. So what I'm going to end up doing is probably devoting one of my harvests just to my salad greens in my lettuce garden. So I'm going to switch it out and not use the seed starting tray. But at this point, because like I said, I was starting some things for my outdoor garden as well. I was just wanting to have these going so that as I harvest or some of the plants kind of expire in the garden that's in the kitchen, I would have these growing. So they're doing really well, starting to come up and get bigger. I don't necessarily plan on harvesting from these right away, but I'm just kind of letting them grow up and mature a little bit. But keeping in mind that these will start to grow up and the roots will start to get way more established. So I'll have to just be mindful of the seed starting tray and not letting these outgrow the space that they're in. And next to those black-seeded Simpson lettuces, we have my French breakfast radishes. So this was completely a first-time experiment because I'd seen some folks say that they had grown some root vegetables in the AeroGarden. The difference is, I was reminding myself, I'm doing this in the seed starter tray versus doing it in a regular AeroGarden pot, where the regular AeroGarden pot is going to give me more of a width or a diameter for this to grow out and have more space to really develop the root vegetable. Now, I don't think it would be impossible to grow it in this seed starter tray. I would just have to harvest it much earlier. But again, the good thing is I could harvest these leaves. I could use these leaves in a salad mix. I could even harvest this radish right now as it is because it's still edible. It's still something that would add and just give a little peppery taste to a salad. But I think I'm going to, and I think about 6 of these growing. So this one is still a younger one. This one is also going and making that little bulbous root that we want to see. Next to those are some tomatoes, but I'm planning on moving some of them to the larger AeroGarden pods. Again, because it's a root vegetable, I don't want to disturb it too much. So this was completely an experiment just to see how they would do in the AeroGarden for me. Because, seeing other people do it is one thing. Seeing other people grow something, you just want to test it out for yourself. So I will maybe try to grow some in an AeroGarden when I switch this back to the traditional 6-pod format. Next to it are my tomatoes. So again, the Brandywine tomatoes. I got super sweet tomato. Let me try to bring that back into focus for you. The super sweet tomatoes. I think back there is San Marzano tomato. So with some of these, I didn't catch this one. Like the San Marzano tomato, I put in 2 seeds. 2 seeds have come up. I have not separated them, and they look a little bit too established. Let's see how the roots are, because you want to get it when it's, yeah, that's too established. There's too many roots in here now to try to pull this out. So we'll have to ride the storm with this and see how it does. I am getting some larger gardens, so I will show you an update of that soon. And by larger gardens, I mean larger than the bounty. And we'll be setting that up. Here at the front is looks like a rainbow Swiss chard with that stalk, which looks like it came up next to maybe a tomato that initially didn't want to germinate. So again, I tell you, I'll drop another seed whenever these pods look like they are not germinating or are slow to germinate. Yeah, that's definitely a tomato. So I'm going to have to separate this out, which will be fine. Not a problem to do. Here, yeah, these look like maybe the Roma tomatoes that I dropped. Looks like initial tomato seeds. So we'll see. Here, two more tomatoes again. No, this was my Arkansas Traveler tomato, but I think I dropped Roma tomatoes here. Here, that's interesting. Maybe thyme? I'm not sure, but it looks like a type of herb. And then that's some more rainbow Swiss chard coming up right here. Although it looks like, yep, a surprise tomato. If you look on this one, looks like I had the rainbow Swiss chard that I dropped, but it looks like a tomato seed jumped in along for the ride on the side of this pod, and it decided to germinate. And at the back, those chives that I showed you before have come up really good. So at some point, I'm going to transfer this to my herb garden and move out those lavenders, because I have two, so I'm just going to keep one in that garden. And here it looks like, yeah, this is one of the leaves from one of the French breakfast radishes. So it looks like definitely need to add some plant food here. It looks like I see a little bit of chlorosis, or one of those where it's a little yellow and looks like a sign of a nutrient deficiency. And again, probably because there's so many different plants in here with the seed starter tray, kind of competing for nutrients a little bit. Or it could be, because this looks a little variegated, it could just be the natural pattern of these leaves. First time growing this, so I'll be learning about it as I go. Not as much going on in the bounty. That heirloom cherry tomato has come up. I believe, yeah, when I looked at this the other night, my fairy tale eggplants have sprouted as well. So that's both of those that are going. This is a little Hoya that I'm rooting in water. Just letting that sit there till it establishes some roots. I don't think these petunias have germinated. This polka dot mix has, though. So that one's there. And I have contacted AeroGarden about those, as well as the coleus, because the pods look like they're trying to develop algae and they're not germinating. So we'll see what they say about that. And really nothing new going on with these pineapple AeroGardens. Although I've seen some folks in different plant groups that I'm in on Facebook say that it took them up to 6 years for their pineapples to develop fruit. So hopefully it doesn't take me that long. And my Tradescantia is just growing. I'm actually doing some more cuttings to grow some more. So that's the office AeroGarden updates. I'll show you the kitchen in another video. I'm going to go shower, get it ready, and start my day. But as always, this is Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. Thanks for watching. Let me know how your gardens are growing. And if you have any tips, please leave them down below. Again, thanks for watching.